look at the basic layout of the grids. The grids you'll see everywhere, it's always based in a cross. You have the 4 directions. You have it within you, above, below, in and out. You have it in the 4 seasons, it forms a grid. In your astrological charts, in and part of time, watch, mathematical alignments, everything is on a grid. You can plot everything that happens, how it happens, on a grid line where the horizontal line is time and the vertical line is events. According to that, you can plot or program reality. So if you control time and you place the events on the timeline, you roll it up into a bundle, what do you have? A seed. Isn't it? What is a seed? But compressed time that's pre-programmed, that will unfold, and so it grows. Now imagine this, have a look at nature. Nature consists out of what? Lots of seeds, isn't it? That repeats itself. So the seed becomes the fruit, which is the seed, which is a closed circle. And each seed represents time with events pre-programmed that's rolled into a capsule. A time capsule. We call it life. But is it life? If you really look at it, it seems very much like something that's repeatable, always the same, can be trusted because it's so, which means it's programmed. It's not life. So, in the seed that is presenting itself, there is a substance, a life force. Now, the question is the life force trapped as this events in time process? Is the events in time itself the life force? Because have a look at your life as a human. You are the result of what? The seed and the egg. Plants and animals combined. Because your semen, small, like a plant, seed. And then you've got your egg. And you are on a planet, or is it a plant net? A plant net, a grid line. Now what did the interviewers say from the reptilians? It says what? Time was rolled up and the beginning was placed at the end. Do you see that in a seed?
Yeah.
Have a look. The seed is, the beginning is placed at the end. So when a child is conceived, you have already conceived the end of the child. Because in the conception of the child is contained the program of the child, which is in the DNA and the chromosomes and so on that comes from the parents. And you have condemned your child according to the genes you have given your child, isn't it? You are the creator of the condemnation this child will become. Is there forgiveness for such things? To do this and to call this condemning of a being to certain damnation, to call that love. So, here we have the seed. And we have deceit. What is deceit? Deception. What is deception? Is the denial of what is really here. To not see it. To de-see it. And it, obviously, ideas, intelligence. It's the same as AI, isn't it? Artificial intelligence. Because what is a seed, in fact? It is artificial intelligence. Because the intelligence is not real, because the process that will unfold in time is predetermined and thus programmed. It's not life that unfolds. The same happens with the human. No difference. Predetermined to such a degree that a total civilization can be built around the predetermination of the unfolding human, according to the process of your growing up. So what happens is inside you is the seed grows. Now, an interesting thing happens. What is the first thing you are taught when you are arriving on this planet? The alphabet and the numbers. What happens to the alphabet and the numbers? They are that which you are being taught is predetermined, isn't it? And someone that already knows these things will teach it to the child. So it's predetermined. It's on a timeline. There is a timeline and an events horizon and an events occurrence in which you're going to get to a point where you're going to be able to use these symbols that you're going to be taught. Because the alphabet and the numbers are symbols. They're the two primary symbols on which all your communication and your relationship within this reality, within this grid line is based on. And it's how you interact with this grid line reality, which has got up and down, right, left, in and out, three-dimensional apparently. But it's an informational three-dimensional reality, not a real one. Because it is symbolically based on how everything interacts. So what you see in what is existing here as nature is running on the same symbols that you are running on. But now, as a child, you are taught the alphabet and the numbers. And then, these things grow. The alphabet grows into words. Words grow into sentences. Sentences grows into ideas. And what happens to numbers? Numbers grow into mathematics. In mathematics will be consisting out of equations, proofs. What does it prove? What does mathematics prove? All the relationships within the grid line that's already here, isn't it? What does your science do? What is science? Science is a combination of mathematics and language, symbols, words, and the study, the observation of the relationship within the grid line. To what extent can one actually manipulate the grid line? The only place where you can manipulate the grid line in its manifested form is in the way everyone interacts, which means it is in the systems. What is not predetermined within this reality? The education system is not predetermined. The government system is not predetermined. The money system is not predetermined. The cultural system is not predetermined. the way we coexist is not predetermined. But what we consist of is predetermined. So if we take what we consist of and we start to have a look at it, we'll also notice that even our language is not predetermined, but we've made it predetermined. The meanings of our words are not really predetermined, we've made them so. Our physical reality of our physical flesh, the fact that we are teachable, that means that we can take symbols and do something with it and create civilizations and interactive coexistence. But if we take it back to the physical itself, what do we know about the physical? There are certain things that's predetermined. You have to eat. You have to breathe. You have to sit. You have to piss. Do you have to have sex? Is that predetermined? It is. You will not stop that. If the basic functionality of the human is understood, let's take out all the parts of what is now termed consciousness. We'll get to that just now. But the basic physical, that which is physical and that which interacts with the physical reality, the plant life, the animal life, the earth itself, all of which consist out of seeds, that is physically measurable. You can trust it. It's repeatable for all practical purposes in relationship to the human. All of these, nature, plant, animal, the physical flesh is God, because you can trust it. It behaves in a predictable manner. It's predetermined. It fits the definition of God completely. In its predetermination, in its image and likeness of God, in the fact that every hair on the head is counted. Everything of it is already written in the seed. There is nothing new. Where is the problem for humanity? Is when we get to the symbolism, where we come to what we have created as a methodology of judgment, of discernment, which is language, which is numbers, which is words, which is letters. These things also grows. But these things is where we can deceive each other, and where we do deceive each other. Because this is where we're teaching things about what things mean without considering the reality of what is really going on. What we forget is that what is happening in the physical reality around us is the outer part of the grid line. Also happens in the inner part. If we sow the seeds of symbols within us, it's going to grow. And if you don't understand the fruit that the symbol will bear, or you deny that such fruit exists, you have a problem. Now what happens is that man has developed into an individual. Not really. Into an individual hell. Because inside man there is a hell going on. Man is busy lying and deceiving all the time, because all the time there is movement of thoughts which is judgmental in nature. It's called opinion, and I have the right to my opinion, but that is not true. It is in fact judgment where you are comparing yourself with others as either better or worse. You are always in a state of comparison. And according to your state of comparison, you will motivate yourself to become better in comparison with others. So you're always competing. You're always at war, in fact, with everyone around you. You're always attempting to be more in your own eyes, because you never share everything that's going on inside you. Now, if you look at the whole point, that everything in nature is predetermined and is in a timeline-based seed construct that unfolds, and you look at human behavior within the context of words, concepts, ideas, the way humans live and use these words and the fruit it bears, and you look back in time, you'll notice an interesting thing is that exactly the same thing is happening inside humans. There's a whole nature that is grown, and this nature is also predetermined. You can predict the actual actions of a human based on their words and their actions. You can determine exactly even what they'll die from based on that. You can determine how they'll be in bed for real. You can determine who they'll be in the relationship. Everything is determinable because it's already pre-programmed. Who's done the pre-programming? The parents. The parents is the ones that's done the pre-programming. The fact that we are in this position now, in fact, should make it easier for us to deal with the situation, because we can discard any form of deity or God. Because what has existed in this reality is simply a predetermined seed that unfolds and bears fruit. We are, in fact, the tree of life in a form of symbolism. Within all of that, there is no life force observable. Because the life force would be not controlled by time or event. A life force will be expressing itself in every moment to the fullest of its nature, which is life. It will not follow a pre-planned unfoldment of existence. So, by definition, life does not exist. The question that each must ask themselves is, if they, at the very least, if we continue with the current existence in the way that it is unfolding within the secret mind, where everything is happening in secret in each person individually, it is predictable that inevitably we will cause each other harm. If we decide that we're going to change this, we obviously have a problem. We have no idea what life is. We have, though, the idea of what it means to program realities into consistency and trustworthiness. I mean, we can see it all around us where a program runs effectively, it can be trusted. So therefore, if we would program ourselves into trustworthiness, we'll be able to trust each other. Then we can start to consider if life exists and if life ever should exist. At the moment, I would suggest that life should not be a consideration as such, because it's indeterminable what it will be, because one cannot yet even exist within a programmed reality with consistency. First step, thus, is to exist in a programmed reality with consistency, which is to do with the structural resonance alignment. First, the alignment to understand how you have become what you are, and then the alignment with programming yourself to a state of stability where you can be trusted, where you are equal in ability, where your life needs, the basics that is required by you in the physical is met, so that you do not have to go into a condition called fear. Fear only exists either due to lack, which is real, or due to deception and lies, which is not real, which happens in the secret mind. The moment you know you're lying, you start to fear that you'll be caught out. And then you live in permanent fear of that happening because you see it happens around you. Now, the condition called God was introduced to attempt to control the madness of man. What is the madness of man? It's thinking. The state in which you exist in separation from everything else, in seclusion, and where you believe that what you are looking at, thinking about, considering is real. But it isn't, because it is not real within the context of a programmed reality. It is out of context. It does not follow the exact timelines and progression mathematically that is existent already in this reality. Therefore you wish for a reality in the hereafter, or in the universe, or in some other planet, that apparently will be better. Now, in time we'll prove to you that that is impossible. But as we progress, let's start with the point where we are now. What happens is that every part of the alphabet that you learn, that progress into a word, that progress within a meaning, which progress into a self-reflection, that means how you compare yourself with what the word represents, and therefore according to your ability with that word in terms of how you are comfortable with the word in terms of its living or your understanding of it, you'll be living the word. Many of the words you are not living because simply you don't understand it. What you don't understand, in fact, is that whenever you are placing knowledge into yourself, words into yourself, and you are programming it into the physical flesh so that you can live it, there is a resistance and there is an experience of tiredness that goes with it. Because the physical requires energy to integrate it. That means you consume more energy when you are learning. And it has to go through change, because at a cellular level, that which interacts in this reality, at your cellular level, your inner must align itself with the outer, which requires you to realign yourself in the grid lines according to your level of education that has increased. Obviously, as specialization has become greater and greater in this world, that is required more and more control of particular points within the grid lines. Now understand, you have your world grid lines that is existent as nature and the human, but your system grid line that is existing currently in the world is primarily managed and controlled by money. And there are many grid lines which each one covers a country, and each of these countries has rules for their grid lines, and then these grid lines interact, and they are deliberately placed to be in a position that those, when it was planned, that are in a lesser position, for instance the United Kingdom, are in the most powerful position. Over United Kingdom has virtually no resources, while other countries got lots of resources. So in relationship to countries with lots of resources, natural resources of the earth, those countries with less, or those that is in a dominant position, will have a stronger money value, currency, which automatically reduce the amount of value they have to give for the resource, and it automatically enrich the country. For example, between South Africa and the UK currency is 10 times stronger than the South African currency. South Africa is obviously a major producer of resource which goes to the UK, even food. But that makes it possible for the UK to be a richer nation while the South African nation is a poorer one. Simplistically because of the differences in the currency rates. It could have been different if it wasn't that those that was in South Africa were also coming from the same country that is being enriched, and they take all the profits with them instead of ploughing it back into the country and supporting the people. And they're all the ones that then end up in control of your technology and your information flow, and then that will scream and make sure they can get people to believe that a socialist system is not acceptable, because it will hurt their pocket, obviously. Anyone against a system that supports all beings on earth equally, the current understood living being equally, anyone that's against it is only against it for one reason: greed. Either they're already in the position of greed, where they are rich, or they intend to get rich. Only greed. It's going to be necessary for us to call out the greedy fuckers in existence and bring their existence to an end, because they have caused untold suffering, and they have deliberately manipulated the seeds of their labor, which is most of humanity, to end up in a position within their lives where they perceive themselves to be less, and they end up accepting their lives in a lesser position and see it as natural for the others to be more. There is no royal ass in this existence which doesn't shit, just like any other ass. Many years ago, it was in the 80s, I had a discussion with one of the princes of the royal house of Great Britain. Royal houses that lived many hundreds of years ago through another medium. And that was the point. He called himself the black sheep of the family because he wouldn't fall into the predetermined lines of the royal family. And he mentioned to me the interesting thing. He said to me, and I was at that stage, just into this, over 20 years ago, he said to me, remember, everyone shit the same way. I wouldn't think that would be very important. But if you really look at it, it is really very important. That shows that everyone is the same seed. Everyone consists out of exactly the same composition. What is the part that fucked with us? Is what's going on as consciousness in the mind. That's a machine that can be manipulated. But the basic genes of this reality, even Monsanto is having great trouble. They don't want everybody to know. They try and cover it up all the time. As they manipulate seeds, what happens? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Major crop failures take place, where whole crops are lost, where they lose a lot of money. They try and control the outcome. And certainly it is possible to change some of the basic programming. But there is not really much that can be changed. One can enhance it. There's no problem with enhancing the basic seed, because the seed is just a plan. But if you don't understand the whole plan and you mess around with the plan, you do not anymore have certainty of the outcome. So So, within the context of this, one must consider that what we are experiencing in this reality is directly related to the seeds of our education. And therefore, if our education is the origin of our problem, we have to look at how are we going to change our education. And that our education is determined by the fuel of our reality, which is money. We have to look at the point of money. Now obviously, if one studies money, you'll see that money in its very essence is not real. Therefore, we can really give money any value. All we have to do is agree that this is the value of money, and this is how we use it as an exchange, and then we can coexist, and we can give some attention to our education, which is our problem. Within that, we'll be able to change our social structure. Once we've got that understood, we'll be able to do some real research about what is going on in our reality. Why is everything trapped in time in a pre-programmed way? To such an extent that everything is predictably contained as a seed. Who and what is behind this deceit? Because this certainly does not look like free will, does it? There can be no free will if you can already predict the outcome of the seed. And whether it's a human, or an animal, or a plant, you can already predict the outcome of the form that comes from the physical seed. The only thing you can't predict is that which exists as the machine, as thinking, as consciousness, as the resonance. Now, what is fascinating is the following. During your life, as you develop your seeds, which is your symbols, which is your alphabet, which is the words, which is that which you call knowledge, which you become. That becoming happens within you as a resonance. It forms within the plasticity of the cells a geometric mathematical symbol that is directly related to your place within the grid line within this existence. According to that, you will learn to align yourself to the grid lines to become more effective. That alignment you will experience as a form of peace, winning, excitement. You got the point. I know this. You'll call it, I know this. This knowing is certain. That is not really knowing. It's purely your resonant alignment of your geometrical design within the grid line to a position where you have a predictable outcome within the system. Within that, you will have feelings of knowing. You will have it arise within you as you observe things around you, and then you'll align your thoughts, and then eventually you'll speak your words accordingly to get and place yourself in a particular position in this reality, and you call that thoughts you, and you call it thinking, and you give most value to that knowing, thinking within yourself. But none of that is you. All of it is the result of a pre-programmed resonance which you are busy aligning with so that you can remain within the grid line, which is you are being forced to do that by your physical body that already knows what? You need food, you need shelter, you need to shit, and you need sex. So therefore, it will push you according to the value that is already predetermined within you of that within your accepted placement within the grids. You will align yourself accordingly. So if you're in a reality where there are more wealthy people, your alignment will be according. If you are in a reality or an environment where the people are poorer, your alignment will be according. You will adjust to your environment through that structural alignment adjustment, which you will perceive as thought and knowing. But that which comes up from within you, from that, did not exist at birth. It was programmed in. Because at birth, if you were born and they ended up with a wolf, you would have aligned and developed physical symbolism that aligned you to coexist with the wolves. We have examples of that already in the world where this has happened. Your alignment in terms of your structural, symbolic design to fit within the plan that is this planet is dependent on your environment. And that will, through a cause-effect process, enforce you to align to it. And that has progressively accelerated due to experiences of those that went before you that you've been taught. That experiences was called evolution. You are not evolving. You are simply compounding resonant experiences into compressed symbols, and each symbol started to carry more knowledge. That means it could resonate in more dimensions of possibility. And as you have progressed, you have become more and more multidimensional because of that. That means your experience has become something within which you can take the resonant symbolism that is you, that is interacting with your environment, and you're able to assess it more delicately and place yourself more specifically according to what you know, the feeling that comes up inside. That feeling, though, is not real or you, it's simply a program. If one would understand all of this, how it works, and one can actually openly discuss it, what's going on inside each one, we can sort out this reality very quickly and get on with the real problem we have. The real problem we have, and we have now confirmed that, is that once you die, you die. What remains? Your resonant symbols. And the only moment where you know everything, as at the moment of death, and after that you diminish, and the symbols that are in you, that you have accepted as you, start growing in nature just like the one here on earth. And you become the same nature being that you were until you reincarnate. And it was all for nothing, just a machine. As above, so below. As in, as out. So if you have to look at you dimensionally, that means, understand, dimensional view is the view of the resonance. That is where you can see the actual energy. You can't currently see it because of you having accepted your design as what it is. As a system, as mind. So therefore you cannot perceive it. Now resonances, you can't see it. It does not exist as form. It exists as a continuous movement. It is like if you would take water and you would take it, it will cause like a form of a ripple, but you can't really see it. It's like when sound travels through water. You can see it on the outer perimeter, but you can't see it travel in the water. You'll feel the force of it though, but you can't see it. You have to stand outside it to see it. So when a tsunami takes place, you don't see the movement unless there is something that is being moved by the tsunami. You can see that outside the top, wave as it rises, but the actual movement is like in the movement of the vibration of the wave. It's not the wave itself, meaning the way it moves. It is the very movement of the wave. That's the resonance. It's not what you see. It is that which moves. Now you're existing as that. You call it spirit. It's not spirit. I mean, it's more like a holy fucking ghost. I mean, it is alive, yet it's not alive because it's pre-programmed. And what has been allowed over aeons of time is for all of this to become pre-programmed. It was not expected. But everything has become pre-programmed, even in the afterlife. So, to change this, it's going to take some great effort. First point is, we are going to spend some time on calling on those that is dared to study the destiny material, and those that would be able to walk. And over the next few years, we will take groups through training in this, taking it apart so one can understand how reality operates. There is nothing that is hidden. There is no secrets in reality. Secrets only exist in the secret mind. As long as you allow a secret mind within you, you will have no access to anything. As long as you allow yourself to think, you're fucked. It's that simple. You have to give it up. What will happen is you will become multiple times more effective in ways that is unimaginable the moment you stop thinking, because thinking is a seed that is got a pre-designed outcome. So, in your thoughts, the beginning and end is already determined. When you give up thinking, you enter a total new reality where everything is available. Okay. Any questions this far?
Yes. What did you mean by, you were saying about how the rich countries automatically got the resources through the money? Can you explain how that works?
Through the exchange rate,
Yeah.
the rich countries, which has got a currency that is valued on the so-called markets as worth more, they exchange that currency for the poorer country's currency, and therefore what happens is that the product they buy arrives in their country at a price 10 times cheaper than the value it would have been if the money system was equal.
Yeah.
So if the money system in the world, there was no exchange rate, and it was equal in all countries, many countries that's now poor will be rich, and many of the rich countries will be poor. That's why, one of the reasons why they'll resist an equal system, because it will cause them to become dependent on those that they currently exploit. But this will not be allowed to continue. I mean, everything now in this reality is being driven by resonances. This is going to become great fun as the resonances takes control of reality. Don't fasten your seatbelt.